How do DVDs sell to you? The cover of a DVD case is important to seek in itself to an audience and consumer. This is usually done through the depiction of the film on its cover. This can be through use of cast or director or production company, or even sometimes using a key scene from the film, something that's famous, something that's identifiable, and instantaneously you know, hey, I recognize that scene, I'll buy this film, even if it's just for that scene. Or simply it may be because there's a symbol or image on this cover that you can relate to because it's some kind of vague or even very specific description of the film, and it instantly draws your attention. However, an important aspect of what is shown on a cover is usually what's written on it. The most obvious thing you'll see is usually the title, the director's name, the cast, or the production company. And if you flip it over, you usually get the synopsis, but you can also get additional things outside of just the specs of the film. Nevertheless, these names can usually be shoved in your face as the selling point rather than what the actual product is. You may recognize the following list. You have from the producers of and from the director of. You have starring, or the production company that brought you this, or alternatively Marvel and DC. These names are often strongly emphasized on the cover as an emphasis for the consumer, for you, to help in coercing you to buy it. It alludes to a simple statement of, hey you recognize this, you recognize the names or the director or the production company, you don't care who they are, you want to buy this because you recognize the names, right? Yeah, buy it. That was a lot of buy it. This is something I think about when I'm purchasing a product of film or TV, if it's something I've maybe heard of or seen a decent review of or something like that, maybe a trailer even, and I'm not exactly coerced to buy it, but maybe what's on the cover will sell me into actually purchasing the product or downloading it on Netflix. Reviews. Yes, there is quite a big thing that dominates a lot of covers these days, this being reviews. These are for those who don't really care about the product that they're buying, like, too much, like they don't care about the director or who's starring in it really. They just want to know if it's worth their time or their money. These may be things like certified fresh on such things as Rotten Tomatoes, which is disappointing enough because it's a review aggregator, but this is a solid way to sell your film sometimes, even if you don't really need it, because again, like this says, you've got your producers, you've got your star rating, 5 stars, that must be, I mean, it's pretty good, yeah. Then of course you've got your cast, and you've got, followed by that, an actual image of your cast, and then your title, your rating as to whether you're allowed to watch it at this particular age or not, and of course, and tightly nicked in this little corner, certified fresh. Or, of course, even on the back cover, certified fresh. Or, unless you don't want to be very discreet about it, but you kind of want people to know that, hey, we got certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, come buy our film, it'll still be on the back cover. That's if you're not, comfortable enough with what you're selling. And that's a film that, got nominated for an Oscar too, so... The main reason I'm pointing out the whole review aggregator thing is that it's disappointing. I'm not overly impressed with the idea of having reviews spammed on the cover of a DVD or Blu-ray or whatever it may be, especially on the front cover. Like, on the back cover, it just being some small, 5 out of 5 star reviews just for people to brag on, like, oh, look, someone from the New York Times who you've never heard of, and you probably don't even read the New York Times, but it's famous enough that you recognize the name. And they say 5 stars. That means I must have it. That means you must have it too. The problem with that, though, is that aggregator sites like Rotten Tomatoes just give you the idea of whether it's good or whether it's bad. Not a reason why it would be good or why it would be bad. Is it cliche? Is it dull? Is it boring? Is it cleverly written? What exactly is good and what exactly is bad? Who cares? 5 stars. And again, for the most part, this is because audiences sometimes don't care about the production company or the producers. Personally, I don't care about the producers of the film. Go for it. Shove your money onto whatever the hell you want to. I don't really care. The biggest companies that people would look forward to is Disney or Marvel. Oh, that is Disney. DC, that isn't Marvel, but nobody really looks forward to DC that much. Pretty much just Disney. And this is because overall, audiences just want to turn off their brain for a few hours. They don't care about the artists or creative team who put their time and effort into this product that you're about to mindlessly consume for a few hours. And that's where reviews help. They tell you, hey, I watched it, I say it's good. You don't know me, personally, of course, but... Or you don't even know my ideals, but 5 stars. Buy it. Go. Enjoy your film or TV show. I guess a little additional thing that I kind of should also touch on is, in terms of reviews, nominated for this many Golden Globes, or winner of this many Oscars, or whatever. Like, some people look at performances like they look at films. Sometimes they don't give a shit. It all rambles up into one thing. You don't want to focus on a particular person or a particular controlling thing. Like, a lot of people don't know what directors do. It's just a thing. I don't care much for it. I think it takes up a cover. It's annoying, but it's there. Put it on the back cover. Put all the special stuff on the back cover to really clog that thing up. It's not like you're going to landscape it across your wall anytime soon. So, what do I wish was on covers? The genre. Strangely enough, this is more something I put on the back cover and is already of itself a problem. Because when I go looking for films, sometimes I want to laugh. So I look for a comedy. But how do I know which one's a comedy unless JB Hi-Fi, for example, just has a comedy section? They don't. They have a horror section. The point being is that I don't know what's a comedy. Maybe it'll be a film like something that's on the shelf that says, the funniest film of the year. But at the same time, most genres can be vague or too specific. Like, recently I had a discussion with a friend about what genre the Harry Potter films should be under. He wants to put them underneath family, so he doesn't have to put them underneath sci-fi or fantasy, because he sees them less as a genre and more as just a thing that's in films. I didn't exactly want to argue, but if I went to the joking point of just go Shakespearean, you've got comedy and you've got tragedy. Tragedy has a bit of comedy in it, comedy has a bit of tragedy in it. That's just life. But that's also the thing. Some people, and then I think it's less about the people who think it's, oh, it should be this genre or it should be this genre. It's like, the problem more or less is the fact that some films may be multiple genres. Is there something that's evidently changeable about this? No, not really. If your film can be labelled under 1 to 3 different genres, then sure, but like if it's a drama film but it has comedic elements in it, then it's like, are you going to say it's a drama with comedy, or are you going to say it's a comedy with drama? Do I care? Maybe. You know, sometimes in a drama, comedy is used to lighten the tension, whereas in a thriller, comedy is used to lighten the tension. Comedy is usually just used to lighten the tension. For example of a film that has multiple genres, but that works in this kind of way, would be Shaun of the Dead. For example, as you can see on the cover, you have romantic comedy with zombies. Gives you a pretty easy perspective. It's a romantic comedy, a rom-com, but as a lot of its fans call it, a rom-com zom, because it's with zombies. It's a horror film as well. But then you also get into the specifics of genres, like, if it's a horror, is it jump-scary horror like the Conjuring franchise? Or is it like slow, dreaded horror like Don't Look Now? Or is it something like Shaun of the Dead, where it's just overly grotesque gore horror? What exactly type of horror is it? And that could go for what type of comedy is it. So I of course understand the limitations of what I would want on a cover, but at the same time, I'd prefer that over 5 stars, or from the producers of. Again, more subjective, but just something I prefer. Conclusion. For the most part, DVD covers, or Blu-ray covers, are a lot like posters. Actually, in reality, they are posters. And of course, when you see a poster on a street, it's selling to you. It tells you what you want, what you should know. Like, this film is the best action film, or it's got this great actor, or it's just the picture of the actor or actress. It's just their face. It doesn't tell you anything about the film. It's just their face. That's why I didn't watch John Wick when it came out originally. Average audiences just want something that has certainty in what they're buying or going to watch. Like, they don't care. Most people don't care when they watch films. They just want something to be good, something that they don't leave with a bad taste in their mouth, or they don't fall asleep through, or if they do fall asleep through, they are probably tired and hopefully want to see it again or continue watching it at a later time, if they ever get around to it. Personally, I care about what's on the cover. Of course, I had my whole spiel on genres, but realistically, what we already have on covers sometimes is a bit too much. I'd prefer that movie covers are less braggy about who spent their money on it. Like, yeah, so what, Jordan Peele spent money on Black Hate Klansman. Is that really going to affect my worldview in terms of the film? No, I'm not going to be thinking about that the whole time I'm watching the film. I'm going to be looking at it for the acting, the directing, and then just the overall film and what it's really showing to me, both as a satirical comedy and as a realistic worldview. The production company is another thing. I don't mind them saying, oh, this company did this film, put it on the back cover. I don't want to see that on the front cover. I don't care to see that on the front cover. I feel like the only one who has the right to do that is pretty much Disney, because it's like, you see that and it's instant nostalgia. And that's somewhat similar for Marvel. You see that and you're like, I know exactly what I'm getting out of this movie. Or you get DC, and then you're just confused because they don't know what the hell they're making anyway. I'm not against having the title of the film, because it'll be weird if a cover didn't have the title of the film. Kind of defeats the purpose. Hey, you remember that poster with that weird girl? Yeah, I don't know what it was called either, but it looked cool. And same goes for director and cast. Like, I think a good selling point is saying who's in the film. That's pretty on the nose. It's very obvious, it's very there. If you care about who wrote it, most people don't, that's why it's on the back cover. Unless it says, from the writers of... Which really also, I don't see that as much as producers or executive producers. And for the most part, I don't even know what they really do. It just reminds me that they have some kind of creative input because they have money, which unfortunately is how the system works. Directors, on the other hand, unless it's... I mean, yeah, of course. This is the person who directed the film. They could, if they wrote it, they could say writer and director. Back in the old days, they used to have, in the title credits, they'd have produced and directed by. So it's not just the fact that they directed it was the fact that they put their own money and time and effort into it. And you're like, oh, that's a selling point while I'm already watching the film, so I mean, I'm already sold. But yeah. And of course, for some of these people, it's because it's artistic expression. You've got like a Scorsese picture, or I don't know, another film by another director that's very obvious. You know, like sometimes you go just for the director rather than what the film's about. Like most Spielberg films these days. You go for the director rather than what the film's about. Those usually involve either really good special effects or Tom Hanks. So, I mean, you're usually okay. I don't think reviews should be on title covers. Like, again, on the back, sure. Like, if you need the extra selling point, go for it. Personally, I don't care about that. I don't like to see someone's very vague and very specific review. Like, it could just be 5 words out of a whole paragraph long that they put on their website, and you're like, if I wanted a review, I'd look up a review. I have Google. I can do that. And additionally, I feel like, for the most part, some covers should be more creative in what they look like. On the back cover, you usually have stills from the film, or you have some artistic nature to it that runs with the theme, or the expression of violence, or the expression of comedy, or whatever it is that's in the film. And it's like, okay, cool, yeah, I get it, cool, nice touch. Sometimes it's just generic screenshots, and you're like, oh, great. Or it has stuff that ruins the actual movie, which is also not great, but it's there. But then you've got things that are very vague. And again, that's one of the things that I like sometimes about covers. But at the same time, when you've got a film like Seven Samurai, for example, it tells you, like, the cover is symbolic to the actual film itself. Outside of the fact that this was the Criterion version, and then that's kind of its own selling point. And but the Seven Samurai, yeah, it's a famous film, it's a famous name. You know it, you're gonna watch it. Maybe it is Japanese and it is 3 hours, but for most, I made that sound bad. It is a non-English film, which for some people that isn't exactly a good selling point. I mean, it's black and white too, and it goes for 207 minutes, but it's a famous film. I'm gonna watch it. Are you gonna watch it? You probably might. A film by Akira Kurosawa, that might be your selling point. Hey, I like Kurosawa's films, or the famous name of Seven Samurai, I know that. Or I'll just watch the American West instead. And on the back, you just have your specific details. You don't have any reviews whatsoever. That's because most Criterion films don't actually have that. And they just have a few screenshots kind of showing you what you might expect from the film in terms of, hey, it's a samurai film, but it's also black and white. Also, it's not featuring white people if that's something that you need to have in your film. Yeah. And all in all, this is pretty much my excuse as to why it took me so long to find this one version of A Simple Favor. Like, this one cover is just surprisingly hard to find. I don't know why. It was like the original poster art and I really liked it. It's sleek in design and very delicate and I like it and it works. It works with the style of the film, but then I don't mind the whole wildly entertaining thing. I don't really emote to that, but sure, that could work. You know, but you've got your cast, that's good. You know, you've got your name of your film, which is fine. If you probably had the director, you might have that little plus, but then you also might be like, oh, damn, that's the guy who did Bridesmaids, and then the latest Ghostbusters film. Ooh, no. But then you'll be like, oh, it's a completely different style of film. It might be good. In comparison to its alternate cover art, which they showed a lot at JV Hi-Fi, which really annoyed me how popular that was. Yeah, so that's pretty much what inspired me to make this video. To be like, I just kind of want to complain about that, but more specifically, like, this doesn't have a lot of the problems that most films do, actually. This one's rather simple, and I like it. Pun intended? At least favor is spelled with a U. That's like a 100% plus. Yes, that's the whole video. Thanks for watching. I wrote this whole entire script on my iPod. This isn't brought to you by anyone, this is just me saying thanks for watching. Hope you liked it. If you want to see more kind of essays like this that maybe aren't very objective and more subjective, I like having a little bit of subjective idealism in there, because objective stuff is nice, but it feels too less from the heart and more from, hey, this Wikipedia article told me this, now I'm going to rant about it, but not rant, just calmly discuss it, because it's not my personal opinion, of course. I like the idea of doing essays like this. I do plan to, in the future, do more essays. Maybe in this style. Of course, there's a lot of editing that's going to be involved in this video, which is going to be a nightmare, but at least it's more visually interesting. Yeah. If there's anything you'd like to add in terms of discussion of what you'd like to see on a cover, or what you disagree with in my essay, comment sections right there. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I don't mind. If you didn't like the video at all, that's completely fine. I mean, it is just a video essay. Yeah. So, thanks for watching, and see you next time. I guess I could plug more playlists, but they're probably here and here or something. Or they're not doing that on YouTube anymore, and this is just going to be a weird kind of outro. I don't know. Bye, I guess.